Good evening again. This is Faja Live. You are on the trail. My name is Femi Akitunde Johnson, and I have some word to give, some advice to give. We have always had a lot of calls on the show, emails and all that, but too much calling. The number on the screen is 0708925547. Essentially, if you look very well, says SMS only. It's not a phone-in program. Please abide by that rule. And I have a rule man in the house, the one who takes care of the information of the state. And a man after my heart, intelligent, cerebral, good-looking, and hard-working. Welcome, the Commissioner of Information and Strategy, Lagos State. Steve, Ayorinde.
Good afternoon, boss. How are you?
Don't mind it. I'm talking to Steve, former editor, The Punch, and former managing director, National Mirror. He's now managing the information structure of Lagos State. It's great to have you, to have one of us still there.
Always good to be here.
Always good.
Even if this is the second time. Always good to be there.
This is the second time. Yeah. Yes, in about a year and a half we are saying we have the privilege. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my honor. Thank you.
Now, what's on everybody's mouth is Lagos at 50.
Yes.
And I know that you have made some kind of noise from last year.
Yes.
Like every 27th of the month, there's a
right.
show going on for a whole year.
That's right.
You cumulated it a few days ago with the World Press Conference on March 27th.
Correct.
Now you have given us an idea that for 50 days,
that's correct,
there's going to be a rollicking Lagos.
It's Project 50-50.
50-50. Now, is it, well, we always say go for show. Is it all that 50 days we just be having show and drama and fun, you know, considering the situation on ground? What's really going on?
Thank you, Faj. What's the situation on ground?
Yeah.
The situation on ground is that Lagos is blessed. Lagos, yes, is mindful of the realities elsewhere. But the situation on ground is that Lagos appreciates the blessings of the Almighty. Lagos appreciates the contributions of the icons and builders of the state. Yes, Lagos was not the only state 50 years ago that was created, formed as a state. There were 11 others, like the disciples, you know, of Christ. But one thing stands Lagos out. It is the only state now that is still standing the way it was when it was created. Yeah. All the other 11 have had some states carved out of them, you know, some splits here and there. But Lagos remains one. Lagos remains indivisible. Beyond that, Lagos has also achieved tremendous successes, which really, for a golden jubilee, should not pass unnoticed. The whole point of Lagos at 50 is to be joyful, is to be joyous, is to be express buoyant heart, and to acknowledge the fact that yes, there have been challenges, yes, there have been issues here and there, but the Lord has been kind to the state. And therefore what you will find is not just merriment alone. There will be merriment without a doubt, because Lagos deserves a ball, but there will be a lot more than that. And I'll give you an example. Ayo will come out in his full white glory on the 20th of May, Saturday. And you know that Ayo, which is an integral cornerstone component of the culture of Lagos State, does not just, you know, come out anyhow. You know, it's symbolic, and it's coming 5 years after the last time that it was out. Ayo is not mere merriment. It is also of, if you like, spiritual symbolism. And that's because Lagos is 50. We can't just nod our heads and walk away. We feel that we should acknowledge the fact that we have not done too badly at all in our 50 years of existence, and therefore we have what we reeled out a few days ago was actually a potpourri a rich lineup of activities, which, as I said, will include Ayo, will also include intellectual stuff. There will be a 2-day conference on the 25th and the 26th at Eco Hotel in partnership with the Financial Times of London. Lagos from mega to smart city, because by size, by our resources, by everything that makes Lagos great, we're a mega city. But beyond that, we look at what other states or cities are, comparable to Lagos, what they're doing. And the buzzword now is for them to be smart cities. Cities where technology runs, security, technology runs activities, which is why you see us being very passionate about the co-creation of in Yaba and the need to recreate it, in Ekpe, in Badagry, in Ikorodu. So if you look at it in totality, it becomes germane and necessary for Lagos to celebrate its 50th, its Golden Jubilee. Yes, there will be fun, there will be dance, there will be movies, there will be Fela on Broadway, there will be Waka, there will be activities for children and students. In any case, Lagos shares her birthday with children. 27th of May is the Children's Day, so we will do a lot, for the kids too. So if you put everything together, you see why the noise about Lagos at 50 has been a lot bigger than a few other states which have also expressed interest in acknowledging, if you like, their own Golden Jubilee anniversary. But for Lagos State, it's a real celebration, which was why we started all the way back, from last year, May 27th. The committee, headed by Professor Wole Soyinka, with Honorable Habib Fasiro as the co-chair, actually started their work since February last year when they were inaugurated. So every 27th, like you rightly acknowledge, we have had something symbolic to mark the forthcoming anniversary of Lagos State, from May 2016 to June, July, August, when we were in London for the Notting Hill Carnival, which incidentally also, marked its own 50th anniversary. And Lagos had a corner there. The Nigerian corner actually transformed into a Lagos corner. We were in Toronto, where for the first time we were celebrated with 8 films ever, first African city, to be so celebrated at the Cities to City Spotlight in Toronto, the Toronto International Film Festival, one of the 4 biggest festivals in the world. Again, it fell into that period when we were marking, that monthly symbolic, anniversary. And we have done 9 months of that. Now we're in the last phase, if you like. So we thought to ourselves and we said, there should be a difference. And we said, let us allow the world to see the beauty, the essence, the glory, the greatness of our dear state with those 50 days, of fun-packed activities.
Wow. The problem with talking with spokesmen, when the president they take over the show. Now let me bring it back a bit. When the committee was formed, you had 2 co-chairmen. You lost one.
Yes.
Rashid. How was it like coping?
Oh, I mean, that was an exceptional human being. Beyond the fact that he was co-chair of Lagos, when I speak about Chief Badamosi, I confess a bit of bias because that was a man that I was pretty much close to. I had a special relationship with him. He was chairman at my wedding, and he was chairman at my first book presentation about 8-9 years ago. So I had a very dear, cordial, very close father and son relationship with him, and of course I was happy when he was picked as the co-chair, to Professor Wole Soyinka, another great, if not the greatest literary giant, in this part of the world, to co-chair the committee. Unfortunately, we lost him. I mean, he has had a bit of a battle with his health before then, and it had, the appointment actually lifted his spirit, and he was ready to give everything that is God, his entire, and him, as chairman of Muson, as chairman of ADB in those days. I mean, if there was a patriarch of the arts in Nigeria that Nigeria ever had, Rashid Badamosi would be that one. He gave everything he had, into the arts. He supported arts, and he gave everything that he had into the Lagos at 50 project. Meetings were held in his residence. Even when you felt that he didn't need to bother, he didn't need to either go to the GRA secretariat of the committee, or to go to Freedom Park, which they also use as alternative office or meeting place. He will say no, he will still want to go, and he attended every meeting, contributed robustly, but unfortunately we lost him. But I'm glad that Lagos remembers him. Lagos will continue to remember him. You know that he passed on in November, but by January, the Art Expo, a yearly fair that was started by Governor Akinmi Ambode, was named after Rashid Gbadamosi for 3 good days, and that will be a yearly thing, an annual thing in the calendar of Lagos State. Every January, the Rashid Gbadamosi Art Expo will hold in Lagos State. And a few days ago, when we had the World Press Conference to roll out the activities for the 50 days of Lagos at 50, 1 minute silence was observed for him. So Rashid Gbadamosi, his name, his family, his legacies will always be there to Lagos State, and his name will reverberate throughout the Lagos at 50 celebrations.
Thank you, Steve. We'll have to go on break, take a breather. We'll be back shortly. I've been talking with Lagos Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Steve Ayorinde. We'll be back in a moment. We're on the cusp of Lagos at 50 celebrations. It should start in April, but we are having the early morning shower about it all. I've been talking with Steve Ayorinde, Commissioner for Information and Strategy. The logo, the theme for the whole event is enhance the heritage, advance the future. The future. And I look at the panorama of what your administration is setting up, quite ambitious. Now, talking about the future, you want to create a Dubai kind of a thing. I saw some pictures. I don't know. Lagos, we don't imitate. So I want to see what are you doing differently from Lagos, from Dubai and other sign issues of tourism and all that. What's happening? Tourism
in terms of the Lagos at 50 or generally?
Generally for Lagos.
Okay, well, I mean, a lot. We don't imitate, but we also we don't also shield ourselves from inspirations, and a few days ago we were at the opening of the Terraculture Arena by Bolanle Austin Peters. You know that that's a place that has endured for more than a dozen years. But then she has transformed the place into, at the back, into a 400 seater theater and a cinema. And people asked me, is Lagos State involved in this? And I said to them, not directly, but what Bolanle Austin Peters opened or commissioned on that day has become an inspiration for Lagos State, which is why we put in this year's budget, and we have since commenced work on it, the need to have such theaters in all the 5 divisions of Lagos State. You know that one thing that runs deep in this administration is the need to run a government of inclusion. No part of Lagos State will be left behind, which is the reason why we say that for the old Lagos Countdown, which used to be at the Bar Beach for just one day on the 31st, we said, why couldn't we have this sort of a thing in Badagry, in Ikorodu, and in Ikeja at Agege Stadium? And therefore, we, if you like, open it up, democratize the space, diversified and everything, and expanded it from 1 day to 5 days. So I said to people, I said, this is brilliant what Bolanle Peters has done to Lagos Island, but haven't gotten inspired by what she's doing. We said, we don't want only the Lagos Island. We want you to work with us to replicate this sort of a theater in all the 5 divisions of the state. Think about how it works for tourism. Tourism does not work where you do not have security, and you see what we are trying to do with security since 2015, you know, when this administration started. You saw what we did a few days ago with the Neighborhood Safety Corps. No tourism exists without people being able to come in and go out, and therefore for a city-state of 21 million people still counting, one international airport will not suffice. And we thought of the Dubai Smart City to work with them to have the Lagos Smart City. A component of the Lagos Smart City is the airport that we have proposed and we will have in the VIGILCITY area. That will happen because you need people coming in, coming out, not just, you know, getting cocooned in one airport. If you have that security and easy access, when people come, 2 other things are important: hotels that they will sleep and content that they will see. Those 4 things are integral parts, you know, to giving tourism a boost. How will you get content if there are no theaters, if there are no cinemas, if there are no good beaches, you know, for people to go, place, you know, for people to see? Which is why the governor is encouraging, supporting every facet of creativity, because that speaks to content, that speaks to provision of artistic energy, creative economy. You know, that is one thing that we are doing, you know, differently, because this is the home of Nollywood, this is the home of hip hop, this is the home of arts, entertainment in Africa, and you can have that huge head count and not have it translated, you know, in terms of content. You know, so this is what we are trying to do: provide platforms, create avenue and opportunities for tourism to flower, for creativity to grow, so that tourism can also, you know, add to it. And that is also the point why we say that Lagos at 50 celebration should be artistically and culturally driven, because it won't end on the 27th. All the seeds that we will have, you know, sown for those 50 days will germinate and begin, you know, and people will reap. Yeah.
Great. So let's pick and choose here and there little foxes that can ruin the whole package. What's the government doing about the return of beggars on the road, the scourge of roadside trading and all that, and the wide aspect of transportation in Lagos? What exactly? Because I mean, they form the whole complex of what we're talking about. They do.
I mean, again, this is about how you deal with the challenges of a mega city. There's no mega city of the size of Lagos State anywhere in the world where you wouldn't have certain environmental issues, particularly when it concerns human beings. Often the laws will be there, but you know that no government runs without being considerate. There will always be some allowances for people to change.
Human face.
Human face, you know, to governance. I mean, we see it everywhere. You go to India, you know, which is, I mean, possibly 8 times bigger, you know, than here. You go to Mexico, where things are a lot harder. I mean, you go to Brazil, where they had Rio Olympics, and in downtown, in many parts of the thing, riots on a daily basis, because some people just felt, oh, we can't be hungry, and then you having this world-class celebration. You will have such vagaries that you have to deal with, you know, on a day-to-day. The same way that we are dealing with those vagaries in Lagos State. Those are not essentially the creation of Lagos as a state. You mentioned beggars returning. I wouldn't say they are returning as such. I would say that the situation on the ground that you referred to at the beginning of the interview, you know, is what is manifesting in beggars showing up in certain areas. Because you need to see, people ask us sometimes to say, how are you going to deal with the issue of trailer loads of our brothers and sisters from some part of Nigeria, you know, coming into Lagos with no intention to return, and possibly with no residence, you know, any fixed address to stay. And we say to them, first and foremost, it's one country, it's one nation, it's one Nigeria. You won't need a visa to come in here.
Yeah.
But what the law will not allow is a flagrant flouting of the law that we have established. We may not be able to deny anybody as such, entry into the state. But we will insist that you can't build and create shanties where you do not have permit to go to.
Yeah.
You will, because that will disturb other people, that will endanger other people, that will be a security threat. We will have to deal with those issues. And when people say, oh, people that you have not built houses for, and the argument we say is that we would love to build houses for everybody, even though that is not a you know what I mean. Yeah. But then are we also expected to build houses for those whom houses could not be built for in the state where they're coming from? And therefore the situation that you have described is a burden, the reality of being a mega and prosperous city. We will have to deal with it by standing up to illegalities without necessarily compromising on on the law, on the human face of it. But what is important is to say that yes, there's no law that says don't beg, but there's a law that says don't beg on the highways. There's a law that says you cannot trade, you cannot hawk on the highways. There's a law that says you cannot ride Okada, commercial motorcycles, on restricted ways. Barely a quarter of the number of roads that we have in Lagos State. You're free to go and do what you need to do elsewhere, but on the highways that we have designated as restricted, you can't go there. And if you dare the government, it means that we have to apply the force of the law. Ultimately, the whole idea of having a smart city is to have a major impact on public transportation, which is why we say that over the next 2 years, from later in the year 2017 to 2019, we intend to phase out the yellow buses. Because again, this is a product of research.
That's downfall.
The downfall ones. The downfall. I mean, motorways used to be here, and I remind people when they say, oh, but for the arts and the creative community, what will happen to the yellow buses that we're used to? And I said, but what has happened to the motorways? They used to be part of our reality. They used to be part of our social life. But it got to a time, 15, 20, 25 years ago, that Lagos needed a breather. And we said that, it's high time that they left us alone. We believe that that we need to do away with those yellow buses without necessarily creating a social upheaval, because many of those drivers will be absorbed into the new more comfortable buses that are coming. And in any case, if you've got 30,000 yellow buses and we are bringing about 5,000 in the first instance over the first phase, one of the big buses that we are bringing can take like double what the downforce used to take. In any case, the whole idea of a smart city is not to rely on small buses alone, which is why after the success that we have recorded on the BRT corridor from Ikorodu to CMS, we are starting this year the Abule-Egba Oshodi corridor for BRT. Guess what? In 1 year of BRT along the Ikorodu corridor, by 15%, the pressure on that road dropped, because many people didn't feel the need to take their own cars anymore, because it's air conditioned, it has a dedicated lane, it goes straight. A new bus shelter is at TBS where it will drop you. The same thing will happen between Abule-Egba and Oshodi. And in any case, water transportation will change forever in Lagos State, because we have just approved the channelization of the waterways, which has been a major issue why you couldn't have nice ferries, nice boats for commercial purposes. Once the waterways are channelized and the jetties are fixed and restructured to international standards, you will see that by 20 to 25% the pressure on roads will reduce.
Thank you so much. we have four more questions, but no more time. Thank you, Steve, so much.
My pleasure, sir. Anytime.
That's been the Commissioner for Information and Strategy. He has strategized the whole show, and it's been great. We hope you have enjoyed talking, having house in your rooms and your homes, and looking up towards a great moment, Lagos at 50 and beyond. You have to have smart citizens too. Abby?
Absolutely. We have a smart governor, which we have smart citizens and smart producers.
Thank you. Have a smart week.
I'm Ayorinde.
And I am Omotosho.
Have a beautiful week. You forgot and started speaking.